last but not least, retail parks. Yeah, I think the most interesting topic because it will happen. It will happen very soon, and it will happen very fast. I would like to introduce shortly the panel. Maybe Nevena, that you introduce yourself.
Thank you. Well, I'm the director of a company called Retail C Group, and we launched a year ago the first business portal about the retail market in Southeast Europe. So what we provide on our website, retailsee.com, SEE stands for Southeast Europe, we provide daily news about the expansion of international and local retailers across the region. So we give information who's coming into the market, what locations they're interested in, what are their store size requirements, are they entering through a franchise partner or directly, and then besides retailers, we also write about existing and future retail developments. We give information how the existing retail developments are performing, and we give information what are the future projects, how they're progressing. Now, besides information and promotion of projects and retailers, we also have an online networking tool. So we understand it's not only important what you know, but who you know. So we bring together international and local retail professionals that want to do business in Southeast Europe together through our website. So today we have over 2,000 retail professionals all over the world following our daily news. And in short, Retail C Group is about information, market information, promotion, and a business network. Okay?
Klaus, you know you're the most important person on this panel, and in general because he's giving the money. Klaus, tell a little bit about your group of companies.
So, good afternoon, everybody. Erste Group Immorent is part of Erste Group, one major Austrian bank, as you know, and we have been here for more than 5 years. We came relatively late to the market, to Serbia, which actually helps us today, because the portfolio that we were able to build up over the last couple of years was according to, I would say, a little bit more conservative lending criteria. So we do have a very, very stable and good portfolio right now. We were very specially focusing on retail parks over the last couple of years. We did a project in Pančevo that we financed, another one in Kragujevac, in Čačak, in Šabac, in Mladenovac. And we made quite good experience in that, and I'm happy to speak here a little bit also about our prospectus and our appetite in further financing retail parks in the region.
Thank you, Klaus. Now, Alex, tell us about your company and your partnership with Quintera.
Hi, I'm Alex. Right. I'm representing two companies here. One is Quintera Development, they're developing retail parks in Serbia, and the other one is Urbis, architectural company, Urbis, partnering with Quintera, working on those retail parks. So that's it, right, for now.
Maybe to introduce myself, Alexander Samonik, Ecovis, Confidas, tax advisor with one leg in this advising business, with a second leg in real estate, in love with real estate, in love with retail parks. 5 years. If I would have the equity, I would build up to now 10 and would be the winner. But how to say, now it's getting, every year we're talking about this really fancy. Yeah? First, maybe to make it clear, the point is who pays our bills, who are our tenants, and I would like to ask Nevena, do you believe that we have tenants? I know that we have, but I would like to hear the view of Nevena and which kind of tenants she sees for retail parks.
Well, through the market monitoring of Serbia and in the region, we see the rise of retail parks, but hybrid retail parks that have more mid-size, small-size units, more entertainment and leisure facilities, and even some developers have integrated a closed one-level or two-level mall with a food court and mid-size units. So for today, I believe the retail parks are moving away from that traditional scheme of having big box units for bulky retailers, for electronics or DIY and home decor. And they're adding more soft retailers. You have more fashion, you have more services, you have more retail and leisure. So today, when you're marketing a retail project to tenants, you can also include small retailers such as Hades convenience store, Dexico children's playground that takes around 200 square meters. You can add also the big international retailers, Taco, CNA, Deichmann, DM, who are in the market and who are seeking new locations to expand nationwide. So instead of, I believe it's a trend, you're not just looking for the big traditional retailers for retail parks, you have a more diverse option of retailers now to include into your project. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Nevena. Klaus, I think we have the tenants. That's for me clear. It's depending how big the project is, like Aviv, it's enormous. The 5th stage, I think, is now prepared. But Mladenovac was so convincing for me. Mladenovac is small, has from Deichmann, Taco Fashion, all these small tenants. I see the big problem in the hypermarket, in the food retailer. How do you see this? This is very important to have this mix also with the food retailer. Is this really so hard to find the food retailer, or we are all waiting for what Lidl is doing?
Yeah, Mladenovac is a good example. It's a relatively small retail scheme of 7,000 square meters GLA, and 3,000 out of that is a food retailer. And actually, it is a critical question, and we see quite a number of investors struggling to attract food retailers simply because the number of retailers present on the Serbian market is relatively limited. So I would say we do have 3 players maybe, some of them international, but there are also local ones like this, for example. And it might take a while to attract a retailer, a food retailer, and actually they are also kind of dictating somehow the conditions. So they are quite reluctant in giving fixed lease contracts. They rather would prefer focusing on turnover rents, which in the same time is not the preferred version for any bank financing it, because they want to see stable income. So I think, yeah, as you mentioned, having a food retailer is critical. So I see it quite positive that Lidl came to Serbia and hopefully will start operation in opening the first set of shops, hopefully not too far from now. I think this will change the market. Of course, they're not the typical tenant in a retail park, as they prefer buying the plots and developing themselves, at least in the first stage. But we believe that they can be very well combined with the retail park, so to have maybe a standalone Kaufland or Lidl just next to a retail scheme, to have it somehow integrated. And we think that this is attractive and will help a lot to further developments of retail parks in Serbia.
Alex, I know you are architect by soul. Yeah, you know I'm Austrian. We make a big box. It's cheap. It's earning money. Yeah, and you, from the architectural side, you would like to make something nice. I think Nevena would also like to have something nice, which is then an entertainment and leisure center, where we can find a compromise between, to say, efficient, cheap, and nice, not too expensive.
Well, I'll give you an answer not as an architect, but more as a business answer. Are they willing to spend more money? Are they going to come more? That's the answer. You know, so the fact that it's nice, yeah, it's nice, but I don't think Klaus is in business of financing nice. He's in business of financing revenue. So if because of the nice they're going to spend more money, the customers are going to spend more money, sure, go for it. But if they're not, if they're just enjoying but not spending, then we made a mistake. So it's a kind of ruthless truth, unfortunately.
Yes.
Before this conference, I spoken to Galaxy Group. They're developing retail parks in Bulgaria. And I also spoken with Avi Varlon that has developed one of the most successful retail park schemes in Serbia. And their answer was that that leisure entertainment is very crucial for them to attract more visitors to their mall, to their actually retail park that is more looking like a mall. Galaxy Group actually said that their restaurants are one of the most profiting retailers in the scheme. And also they say that the entertainment facilities keeps on bringing more visitors to their mall, and the visitors are spending more time. And the more time they spend, the tenants have higher turnover. And if the developer was smart enough to negotiate a turnover percentage, then everybody will profit at the end. Also, I would like to add, when you mentioned that maybe Kaufland and Lidl will enter the market, if they enter a town where you already have an existing retail park with a supermarket, you can't only rely on your supermarket to bring the visitors. You have to bring more features into your mall to keep your customers coming. And this is not just a trend in Southeast Europe. This is also in England, that retail parks are more becoming a leisure entertainment center where people are spending more time. They're becoming alternative more cheaper versions of shopping centers, especially in emerging markets that have a very supply of modern retail space and very high demand for retail offer.
Thank you, Nevena. Alex, I have to ask you, today you showed me a presentation of Oberwart. This is a special combination of retail park and some covered style. Is this something what could be used in Serbia, or it's only illusion? It's not. We are not. How to say? It's not our time. How is it?
That's a big question that we'll probably see the answer in the future. And it's a question, I would say, that model with a little bit of shopping mall and a little bit of retail park would be perfect for cities that can take only one of them, that cannot take more. Like Belgrade, doesn't matter really. It can have shopping mall separately, retail park separately. Shabac might benefit from that concept, for example, because Shabac can take only one of these, right? So putting them both in one makes sense, especially in our climate, especially as Nevena said, people come to get entertained, and then they shop a little bit. So you have combination of, you have always traffic drivers and you have a profit center, right? And you can't just take your profit center and run with it and make profit, right? You need to have traffic drivers. So in combination of these two, there is always a question. And there is a question now, are people just going to come to enjoy the air-conditioned space in July and buy nothing? Or being in the space, they're going to spend some money? Okay. And how much money they have to spend? That's the next question.
Because now the question for Klaus, what is very important, or maybe more a statement, yeah? We always forget on experience. Yeah? Not everyone can do retail parks. When I was planning to do retail parks in Serbia, I was in a joint venture with, or I am in a joint venture with IMEX. Yeah? IMEX has a lot of experience, have dozens and dozens of projects done in Eastern Europe. Experience is very crucial, because if you don't have the experience, then I think you are not really bankable. How is it? It's like this, or?
Yeah, I can confirm this, of course. I mean, in general, I have to admit that banks got more and more bureaucratic over the last couple of years, and they have been set up quite strict financing and lending criteria and standards. And one of it, at least how, and this was what we draw from our experiences, in any real estate project, 60% of the projects who failed already during the development. So it's not that after 5 years you find out that the project doesn't work anymore, but the majority fails already in a very early stage. And we believe in this very early stage it's simply crucial to bring experience with you. So now for a retail park, I think the entry barrier is probably a little bit lower than for an integrated mall or for a leisure hotel industry or office buildings even, because you have a relatively short period of construction, so with not too many risks involved. Actually, you don't have underground parking and so on, so the construction is rather straightforward. But still, you need quite some experience. It's not just to put there a strip mall and fill it up with any kind of tenants. No, as you mentioned, I think for shopping you have to create an emotion to bring people there and to make them feeling they stay comfortable and to enjoy it. And all that needs some experience. You have to understand the market. You have to know what fits to which part in the country. You have to screen the competition and to summarize it in one sentence, I think for that, or what a bank would ideally like to see is a developer who did successfully, I would say, two projects already in this kind of industry, and that would feel our risk managers really much more comfortable, as experience is key, definitely. Yeah.
I would just like to reflect on, again, Aviv Park in Pančevo. I believe that they were very smart by developing in phases. I was a retail consultant when they were building the retail park, and they started with the supermarket, and then they added a little bit more space. So maybe that is the safe way to develop in time, testing the market and seeing what works. So development in phases of retail parks is very good, and to have enough space that you can grow over time. Yes.
If I may just add one sentence, as it's our client, and we are very happy actually how the project went. So we also liked their approach. I think it was a perfect approach. They went to do it in phases, which meant that for each phase they had a pre-lease of almost 100%, which makes it very easy for a bank to approve such phase, as there is the cash flow is secured for many years already from there. And once they had one phase leased out and having the first turnovers seeing, they would start the next phase. And I think this was the perfect approach in this period of crisis. Unfortunately, we saw in Serbia also one or two projects where the developer thought that he could do it the other way around, which means to simply build it and then wait what happens. And the approach was even, and they told me, well, we believe once it's there, we will achieve much higher average rents, which actually it's the opposite, because any retailer would say, well, you're empty anyway, so I will tell you the conditions, and if you don't accept it, I will not move there. So I think, yeah, Aviv Fallon did it perfectly, and I was very happy to have them today in a meeting where we already discussed two more projects that they will start in Serbia. One in most likely in Belgrade and another one in a secondary city, and we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah. I have last year said the winner takes it all, the loser has to fall. My theory is now in this phase, in the next years, there is who is the first and has a suitable project is the winner, and the second should not even try. Yeah? I see this in Pančevo. Aviv is great. Tamiš Kapje is dead. Yeah? Now we had a situation in Šabac. I could not advise Big CE to go in their project in Šabac because Capitol Park is existing. Mr. Brody was last year here sitting and speaking because personally feeling is you have to be the first, and now I made a list of a lot of competitors. Last year, Thomas Willardson from MPC was here. He was saying he will do 5 to 7 projects. Aviv, we hear now, is doing something. Poseidon will do some projects. Immofinanz bought project in Čačak, and you can believe that Immofinanz is not doing one project. They will do more. Makes no sense, yeah? We have, IMEX will do projects, Big CEE maybe will also go further. I told today we have a German connection, a Slovenian connection, Austrian connection that are investors which are now taking a look. That means a lot of things are happening. The main argument why we did not do business in the past with IMEX was no exit. Klaus, is this changing now? Do you think there are buyers for leased out retail parks?
I think there are buyers, but still, I think it would still not be the right moment for developers to sell right now, because the yields are probably not yet that attractive. So I think, and this is the approach that also Aviv Alon is taking, or Big C in Novi Sad, for example. They just wait and keep the assets as income producing on their balance sheets. And I think if you can afford this approach, I think it's the better than selling it right now. I believe one reason is that, first of all, there had not been so many institutional investors present in Serbia yet, and as they had not been here, they would not enter also during crisis. So everybody was more and more focusing on his core and home markets, and for many of them, Serbia wasn't a core market yet. I think it will also change. The situation will change a little bit once you will have a portfolio of retail parks that you could acquire in Serbia, which is also not the case. In the same time, most developers say, well, if we come, we want to do at least 5 in Serbia, which will take a while, which will take a couple of years. But I think then that will be the moment when we can also discuss the exits, and where we will see a growing interest of investors that will provide attractive exits to the developers.
Nevena, you mentioned before Aviv Zvezdara. Yes. Where is now, we have shopping centers and we have these retail parks and something in between. What is the right concept for Belgrade? Belgrade is always special. How you see it in the future?
Well, the Aviv project in Belgrade is going to be in Zvezdara, so it's going to be a neighborhood shopping mall, and we believe it's a right way to do a neighborhood shopping mall because of the low construction and low management, and we believe that in this market, even there's a lot of competition in Belgrade, but still the purchasing power is not high. We just believe that retail park developments are a smart way because to develop retail projects, because you have the lower cost, you can bring in the discount retailers that can afford the rent, and you can satisfy the consumers that are in that area. So it's very important to adapt your retail projects to your consumers, that people are gonna shop there. I know a neighborhood shopping center which is close in my neighborhood. I'm not going to mention it, but they wanted to create a shopping center with exclusive brands, and it's just not working. They had a nice idea because it's connected with a hotel, but nobody's buying there. The rents are too high, and it's now almost empty. So neighborhood shopping centers need to be a cheaper version of shopping centers, and you just have to adapt to the market. Yes.
Thank you. Alex, what do you expect, what we will see now in Belgrade? We discussed today this Aviv Zvezdara, it's like a U form, yeah, very nice looking. Yeah. Do you see some trends from Europe, from America coming? What are you expecting from an architectural side? What will happen in the next years? What we will see, which eye-catcher we get now in Belgrade?
Well, it's a tricky. It's not easy. I don't think it's easy to transpond Europe and saturated market to Belgrade. Belgrade is unsaturated market. So for now, whatever shows up is going to be filled up pretty much, if it's in certain parameters. When it gets filled up, when it gets to the point closer to the saturation, then we can talk about choice. So would I like to go? Would I rather go to Voždovac or Zvezdara Aviv if I'm living close by? These are two close by. And they're kind of, Aviv is probably going to be a little bit smaller, but I might make a choice. At that point, it gets important. What we see is definitely what Nevena says is more entertainment. So I want to feel nice. I want to shop a little bit, but I want to feel nice there, entertain me a little bit. What is a big catch there? We all look at, as shoppers, as bystanders, we all look at nice and say, ooh, what a nice mall, right? I go to Novi Sad, too big, what a nice mall, lots of lights, they have huge public areas, wide corridors. I would love to see their performance, their model. Are they going to be able to pay for all these public areas? they already have, I'm going to dare to say that half of their mall is already ill-performing, the left-hand side, right? No, people are not so willing to go there. They go maybe straight entry, H&M, and then they go right to the food court. Left side is hanging in there. If they create enough traffic, maybe they're going to lift it up a little bit, but not sure. So really critical point is, critical cross is my marginal cost, what I spend on nice, is it going to come back in the revenue? Is it going to make the difference? And that's that's $1 million question. It's hard to say why they came. Did they come because of nice or not? You can't compare. That's really the biggest issue of all of us.
I just want to confirm that when I was saying that retail parks need to be attracted to tenants, I didn't mean that the investor needs to spend a lot of money on making it look good, but in choosing the right tenants that are going to attract consumers. So more services in terms of car wash, ATM, post office, then to add some entertainment and leisure. I think Big doesn't have a lot of entertainment and leisure, and maybe that's going to be my critique, why they're not attracting as much people to come to their center. So I would advise them to add some features. If they don't want to rent out the entertainment and leisure within their units, maybe more outside seasonal entertainment to be added into the tenant mix. For instance, just to add, Vivo Jagodin is going to be built, and I've spoken to the developer, and he had ideas for the winter to make an ice skating rink, or when you look at Ušće, what they're doing during the summer. And retail parks have a big land space, so they can really be creative with the type of promotions and events in order to attract more visitors. Thanks.
I have a question for Klaus. When I have a movie theater in my mall, does it count into my pro forma as a yield? Also, children's playground, do you count that income as against the?
Yes, I mean it's always a matter of ratio. So if you have 5,000 square meter of standard retail and an additional 5,000 square meter entertainment component, I think that would be too much. But in the same time, I also agree with Nevena that entertainment and leisure is a key for success. So what, again, to bring the example with Pančevo, so they have an ice skating park in the winter, they have a basketball court in summer, they have shopping nights, they have concerts almost on a weekly basis. So what actually Pančevo, the retail park, became the center of the city. So when people want to have a coffee, they just go there, and maybe they will even find something, and a nice T-shirt that they would buy. And also, it really matters which kind of yeah, of course, but also, I mean, it doesn't always have to be a McDonald's that you have for food, for example. So in Pančevo, what they have some local cafes and restaurants providing on a weekend a pizza for €3. So you bring families going there to have lunch on a Sunday because it's affordable and it's nice. But coming back to the cinema, I think, yes, I mean, a cinema is doable. We just have the case where one client wants to build a cinema as a part of his retail park, and we said, yeah, of course we can do that. Will we take, I don't know, in our business case that we calculate in our risk case, will we take 10, 15 euros per square meter? Maybe not, but maybe we just take 3 or 4 euros. But the retail park as such will be able to afford that also, and it will simply attract and increase frequency. So nothing against the cinema as part of a retail park.
I would like to mention, you know, I'm tax advisor. What is the key problem for Belgrade? Expensive land, construction fees, and then you come very soon in a situation where you are quite not so per square meter cheaper than a shopping center. I'm now a little bit over estimating this. But at the end of the day, one retail park client said once a time, I like retail parks because I pay less rent than in the shopping center fees. Property fees, utility fees, marketing fees, and so on. And you have to earn on the square meter, you make your revenues, yeah. And if it's so much cheaper, it's easier to get your targets, yeah. I fear that we will see a very strange situation in Belgrade because often, what is the biggest mistake? You have land, you bought it very expensive, and then you make something on this land because you have no other option. Yeah? And then at the end of the day, also Avif has had very expensive land in the beginning, but they managed it perfectly, yeah, to get it run in the perfect way. The point is we have to get it in a way where the rent we can get per square meters and the construction costs all in with the land costs are in a relation which is feasible, because on the other hand, if this is not, it's not bankable and we don't get money. I think last time we discussed it, the land should not be more expensive than 100 euro, but this is an illusion for Belgrade, or Klaus?
For Belgrade, I think it's an illusion, yeah, and also, and then you have as an add-on the land development fees and so on. I mean, this is the reason why we don't see more retail and actually no classical retail park in Belgrade. I think this will also not change in the near future because the land prices stayed very stable on a very high level throughout the crisis. Yeah, I think this is also why developers are more and more, one of the reasons why they're focusing on secondary cities where they have also very easy access to the municipalities, where permitting is probably easier than here in Belgrade, where everything might be a little bit more complicated.
Yes, money is at the end of the day the topic. Klaus, I have to get some answers on equity, on durations of contracts and so on. Last year you were quite cool with this, yeah? It's getting now a little bit easier to get financing, or how we are standing now in the reality?
Well, I was already wondering because I expected the question for equity already within the first 5 minutes. Now it took you 33 minutes, which makes me already feel much more comfortable. No, of course, I mean, equity is requested, equity is an issue, and I will say it straightforward, what we typically want to see is an equity ratio of 30 to 40%. Which is, I think, I mean, also not extremely high, because this is what you probably see, except some quite mature markets like in Western Europe or also Austria. But I think here we don't apply a special regime to Serbia. I think this 30 to 40%, to name it, is also what is requested in all the neighboring countries. So when you would build a retail park in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, you would also have this to fulfill this criteria. So I think here this should allow some development, and actually does also in Serbia.
Nevena, do you have the feeling that the tenants are giving contracts that they are bankable, that they are long enough, the duration is long enough to follow up financing, or is this a problem? It's a more than 5-year problem?
Well, it depends on the development. If it's developed by an international developer with experience in a good retail portfolio elsewhere, they have more confidence to sign agreements for 5 and maybe 10 years. But when it comes to local developers, Vivo Park, for instance, I was a retail consultant for that project a couple of years ago. It was very difficult to even sign pre-lease agreements with international retailers, but because it's a local retailer that doesn't have experience, and they just were worried that it wasn't going to work. So it really depends on the retail project, on the investor, how much the retailers have confidence in the development. Okay.
Alex, we know Quintera does a lot of secret things. It's always in the in this field of business. That's why I said the Austrian connection, Slovenian connection, and so on. But we know that Quintera are developing things. You are able to tell us something about Subotica or some other location you're doing, or better we are only saying something is happening and you are the Quintera connection?
I can tell about Subotica, I can't tell about other ones. Subotica is already out, so what would you like to know? It's a retail park. It's status, we are waiting for Klaus to give us some money. And then 30%, if he can go down to like 5, we have 5, if he can go with 5. No, I'm kidding a little bit, 30% I think is, if he said less than 30, I would say he's crazy, kind of, the world is going crazy already. 30 is really the lowest that can go, I would say, ever, except in really, really crazy times. So it's in planning, in kind of plans, of course, waiting financing. Negotiating with tenants a little bit, and that's it for now. Until we start digging, you will not, it's all talks for now. So we are not ready to start digging yet. That's
okay,
the question.
there
That's
was some Tyrrell real estate company, an Austrian guy who started also to buy some military facility. What is happening with this? We heard some times ago something about him, and then he was gone.
I didn't hear about him.
Okay. Then it's not important information anymore. Okay, some other cities besides Subotica you are in focus, Belgrade, Novi Sad or something like this?
Not Belgrade, definitely, so it's mostly secondary cities. I can't talk about it too much. I can't disclose too many cities, so. But there is not many cities in Belgrade. If you take out these that are taken already, there is not many left.
You see, very open but very closed too, yeah, but I understand this. I made the list. Last year we were very close. Mr. Brody was here, Shabats. They made it. The Capitol thing is very nice. What is interesting now, the building construction is quite cheap. Yeah, you can build for small money, and this is important because at the end of the day, it makes a yield. Yeah, and it makes things suitable. He mentioned last year, because I was not sure, he mentioned it, Sombor. They bought some land in Sombor. We will see. Yeah. In Kragujevac. Rakovica. Yes. That we discussed. It was not on the. That's Belgrade, yeah. But this was not on the. I'm not allowed to say too much. You know, I'm talking too much. Yeah. But yes. Rakovica could be a topic.
Existing on the REBEC website, one announcement.
Then it's fine. Then it's fine. Yeah. Very interesting for me is obviously Immofinanz closed now Čačak, yeah, and this lasted some time. I'm sure that they will do more. I'm quite sure that they don't do only one project because it's not feasible for them. A lot of things are happening. I have on my list a lot of companies which are quite active now. Aviv, I'm sure they will do, besides Vesdara, other things. Yeah? Obviously, it's attractive. Now we have the problem, we have to see, if I would be investor, I would invest immediately. If I am developer and depending on this, that I have to sell it fast to make the next project, it's not so easy. I think this is the key problem now for all developers, because they are not sure to whom to sell, that they make the next step. How you see it, Klaus? Is this like this?
Yeah, it's definitely the case. So we are also always being asked by Vienna, so what is going on the market, and show us some transactions. And actually there are almost no exits in any retail project over the last 5 years. So there is also no benchmarking. Okay, there's a limited number of projects, but yeah, the exits are very limited, and also those who invested here in the country took this apparently into consideration, and they did not have the pressure to exit the projects just 2 years after opening them, for example.
Nevena, do you have some information regarding, for example, KIK? Will they come to Serbia?
KIK is a Retail C Group member, so they're actually following our daily news about the market. They are present in Croatia. They're scanning the market, but they don't want to confirm exactly when they're coming, unfortunately. But we have many international retailers that are in the region that want to come into Serbia and are interested in retail park developments. Some want to come directly and some through franchise partners, and they're definitely retailers that you need to keep an eye on. To uncover, let's say, Franco-Romanian retailers looking to expand to Serbia. They'll soon be coming to Serbia. And if you want to connect with them, you can go on the website because we do connect local international retail professionals. We know Hervi Sport. They're also following our daily news. You have LC Waikiki actively looking for locations. And for instance, Kiabi is a French retailer that is looking for franchise partners in order to come to Serbia. We have many international retailers that want to come to this region but are looking for local franchise partners because they still find the region a little bit risky. Okay.
One of my largest clients said 3 years ago he believes that in Serbia is space for 50 retail parks. I was a little bit, it should be in 5 years. Now we have 3 years are gone. But I'm sure that 50 in additional 5 years could be possible and it's feasible. Okay, we have not so much secondary cities which have a cap area from 75,000 people, but I think 50 is not so far from reality in 5 years, or? Klaus, what do you think?
In 5 years from today?
Yeah.
That's a tough question.
Tough question, okay.
I think 50 is quite optimistic. So I would say for the next 12 months, we will have maximum, we will have maybe 3 to 5 more retail parks that will start construction. And then it might increase to maybe 10 a year, but I think it's probably a little bit less than 50, or most likely I would see not more than probably 30 within the next 5 years, and even that is kind of optimistic, I believe.
I had in mind 25 very small ones, or around 5,000 square meters, in cities which are now out of the focus, but they also need shoes from Deichmann, textiles from Taco Fashion and so on, because at the end of the day, it's not so easy. That was my main concern for Mladenovac. I said, Mladenovac is so near to Belgrade, it maybe won't work because people can go to shop to Belgrade, but people like to shop nearby. I'm thinking that Nevena, there are a lot of tenants which, okay, for this very small format, you have these classical tenants, Deichmann, Taco, and so on, but I think there is space for very small formats, maybe not now, but these people outside in the smallest cities in Serbia have also the right of entertainment, leisure, and shopping experience, or?
Yes, actually I discovered that there are bus tours around Serbia bringing people from secondary cities to shop in Delta and Ušće. Just shows the retail offer is very poor. And I remember before Avi Park was being built, I had to do some research in Pančevo. I walked down the high street and saw there were no international tenants on the high street. I even asked the locals whether they thought it was a good idea for a shopping center in Pančevo. They said no, the purchasing power is very poor and nobody's going to come to Pančevo. And thanks to a retail park, they have attracted so many international brands, and now people are going there and shopping. So really, retail park developments can become the new Ušće within the secondary city, not just attracting people from the town, but also from the outskirts. And when also I mentioned, we have now international retailers that came into the market. They have established stores in Novi Sad and Belgrade, but they're looking for locations across Serbia. They have to open 10 to 20 stores in order for it to be profitable for them to be in Serbia. They're struggling to find good locations where they can attract enough visitors. So the need for retail parks, you can see, is among tenants and among consumers, because the retail offer is very poor. So yes, and the other thing that I have also mentioned, if you already have it's not only the big retailers that want to expand across the Serbia, it's also the mid-size unit tenants, and you should include this into the tenant mix because it's going to be easier for you to lease out the whole space at the end of the day. Yeah.
If I may just add one sentence, because you mentioned size, I think for retail parks, size really matters because you have to create the critical mass and of attractiveness. Also, I mean, if there would be any project offered to us to have it financed that would be smaller than, let's say, 6,000-7,000 square meters, I would be quite skeptical, because you would not just go to a retail park because I mean, there is a Deichmann or a Taco, and you would need some shoes. You want actually to see more. You want to have nothing against Deichmann and Taco, but you want to have some entertainment, and should offer more than just a food retailer and then 3 additional shops. I mean, this is what we could see also actually in Novi Sad. The bigger it got, the more attractive it got. We could see the same in Pančevo. With each phase, it got the frequency, of course, increased more than proportional. I would say the ideal size for Serbia for secondary cities is 7,000 plus. So I would say 7,000 to 15,000. This would be a perfect size.
Can I just add, especially in Vojvodina, people are used to driving their bike to get around, and they like everything to be close by in the city center. So having a variety of tenant mix, diverse offer is very important to give a reason for people to go into the car, spend gas money, and get to your mall.
That means we are far away in principle from Austria, where you can find so-called Fachmarktzentren, FMZ, also in a catchment area from 10-20,000 people, yeah, where we are far away from this, and we will have the need for bigger structures. Alex, I'm quasi subskizet, and I'm asking myself now always the same concern: buying powder. People statistical don't have money, but they have money. Well, how you see it, like a American Serb?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Right now, purchasing power is close to 0, which is a problem because 7,000 is too much. 7,000 is too much, kind of. But soon enough, as soon as we pass the threshold of fulfilling the food needs of food, next one is probably kafana. Right after that is clothing. So every spending after food is going to go to the retail park, which is, when you start from 0 or really small amount, it makes a really kind of huge improvement over a short period of time. And that can happen in, let's say, 5 years. So in 5 years, we can have unproportionally bigger spending power just for not overall, but just spending power, discretionary income that goes into retail parks. That's the trick. So you're going to go from 0 to 100 very fast, which doesn't make our lives easier at all. It makes it really hard to plan.
Okay. I hope we don't have to ask now Klaus for a grace period of 5 years. Nevena, how you see the purchase power? Can we convince the tenants, the retailers, that there is purchase power?
Well, there's a very big gray economy in Serbia. I believe in secondary cities that purchasing power is very low and that they need discount retailers. They need international retailers because Serbia was for so long closed from the rest of Europe. So I believe it's very attractive for them to buy clothing from international brands such as H&M, and maybe this is the reason they're coming to Ušće and Delta too. Even when I was in Niš, I was working on Forum shopping center. I was sitting in the street in front of it, and I saw so many people with Burberry and Ralph Lauren, and I got information the fashion company clothing store works very well in Niš. And Okaidi, children's brand, works better in Niš than in Novi Sad, even though in Niš the purchasing power is lower than in Novi Sad, which is quite strange. It seems that they are fashion conscious. They want international fashion brands, but I think the majority of the brands need to be discount retailers, and maybe add a big fashion and friends store for those who want to spend all of their money on a brand. Yes. Okay.
Your chief risk officer is Holger, a Croatian guy. He has no concerns, Klaus, about the spending power. That means the successful track record of retail parks in Serbia. It's no discussion anymore. Is purchase power a point of discussion?
Actually, purchasing power is not a topic that I'm used to discuss with clients. Of course, would you double Ušće and build it in Čačak? Probably not. But purchasing power or average salary is just one component, but you have to take into consideration that the market is heavily unsaturated. So you have actually an income per existing square meter of retail in Serbia, which is double from what you have in neighboring countries, for example. So from that perspective, yeah, of course, the average salaries, official salaries, are still relatively moderate in Serbia, but per existing square meters, it's still much more than you have in most of the neighboring countries.
I took yesterday a look at one project, One Zemun, and I was wondering, 25 million euros, EBRD finance partly, on 15,000 net leasing area. It seemed to me a little bit expensive. The square meter, okay, Belgrade is Belgrade, Zemun is Zemun, but I think they have quite problems now with tenants, and for you as a bank, pre-lease is important, 50%, 70%, 100%, 110%?
Yeah, pre-lease is key. Pre-lease is key, and we were quite familiar with the project in Zemun, but I don't want to lose myself into that right now. But for us, it's definitely key, and it's also, it's not so hard to achieve. If there is a good location, the tenants relatively easy achieve a pre-lease of 70–80%. So again, this was not a major point of discussion, because also most of the investors would say, well, we target such amount of pre-lease because we don't want to be stuck with a project that is half empty from the start. And as you mentioned, there's a big number of retailers that entered the market recently, and they all need a number, let's say, 20 shops throughout the country to have economies of scale. So they're quite willing to expand, and it's not so hard to fill up a project and to have a pre-lease of 70–80%, what we typically ask our clients for.
Can I just... One Zemun is Retail C Group clients, so we had a chance to look at the plans, and most of their retail units a lot of the retail units are mid-size, so they're probably achieving a higher rent on smaller units. And maybe that's why the rent that you have as the average is higher than usual. And maybe it's also a reason why it's more difficult to rent it all out, because you have so many tenants. It's not a traditional retail scheme where you have 13 tenants, and when you finish it, you're done. So I also assume that their management is going to be a little bit more difficult than the traditional, because the more tenants you have, the more you have to manage.
Alex, what we can say now? What is the experience in the States? Pre-lease is also this high topic, or is it only here in Europe such a topic that you have to pre-lease 110%?
Pre-lease is, I would say, the key, and I would say if Klaus doesn't want to give us money, that means that we are somewhere kind of not in a good shape. So I see him as our conscience. Not him, not just Klaus, but anybody in the bank. If you talk to 5 banks, nobody wants to give you money, you probably shouldn't do it. I would say that's a fair question. I mean, I know people are doing it, but if you're serious about it, there are certain instances where where they cannot because of how they're set up, and you should still go for it. But I think this is pretty simple case. Retail park is pretty simple case. Obviously, banks understand that, and they see that as an opportunity to lend, and they're willing to lend. So I would say for now in Serbia, if you cannot get bank to sign up for your project, you should rethink it.
Okay. In the past, our approach was, if we have a project, we ask Mr. Pinguera von Deichmann. I say he's the king. Deichmann is the king of the tenants, and if they like it, the bank will also like it, and so on and so on. But I think we get now, because of a lot of competition, also a lot of new concepts. Yeah, there will be some old-fashioned or classical concepts which are always working. From my understanding, I like retail parks on one level, not one first floor. Yeah, how you see this?
I completely agree. I'm also for one level. You can also include this closed area mall with the mid-size unit, maybe food court, but I would advise to stick in one level. The more levels you have, it's more difficult to lease and to control that the footfall is going to be balanced for all floors and all sides of the floors. So we have seen Jupiter City and Supernova in Croatia. They're integrating this closed atrium with mid-size units, and even One Belgrade has also done this. So as an advice, maybe based on the trends across the region, we would advise for that closed area to be one level.
Alex, one level, 2 levels, 3 levels, 5 levels?
Oh, I'll have to go into many details there, numbers, how to put in the, concerning the land price, is it cheaper to go second level or buy additional land and kind of build it one level on more land? Depends on your plot that you can get. If we would, in a perfect situation, we would be able to cut out the plot that we like, kind of. I need 100 meters more here to fit this. But when you are faced with the problems of the certain location, certain land plot, then you start negotiating with yourself and with Nevena, and yes, one level, perfectly one level, all parking in front, just simple, plain, simple, straight. But when you have a plot of land that is where you like the location and it's a perfect location and there is no way to expand it, then you go into making compromises. It's a big issue, and I would say it depends mostly on money. It's a money decision.
Thank you. I would like to make a short resume, maybe some questions from the public too. At the end of the day, what is important that this retail park topic can bring up Serbian GDP, yeah? Because the construction could be quite fast, employment could be quite fast. Never forget, a lot of retailers which are doing local business are not employing the people properly. Believe me, international groups doing this. But we will see. I have a list, a quite long list of players now in the market, and next year we'll sit again together. And I'm sure that there will be a lot of building permissions, permits, that you will have new tenants from, we heard in the shopping center panel that there are coming retailers from Turkey, very serious.
Yes, we have a couple of brands, for instance, Geordis and Sefik and Dagi and etc. And Collins, and you can find all this information on our website. We actually publish who's coming into the market and what they're looking for, and we're going to be doing this in the future. So you will be updated who's going to be your potential tenant and who you need to call. All right.
I think Klaus will have a lot of work to check the whole how to say project mix, yeah, to make it suitable. Are there any questions in the audience? No questions. I hope we were interesting. Give you some new perspectives on this topic. I'm sure again this retail park topic will bring real estate further, and not only, I always say Serbia is not Belgrade, Serbia is, you have to see the whole country, and this development is happening more outside of Belgrade than inside of Belgrade, and that's good so, and I hope that besides this spark of Belgrade waterfront, also this could be a spark of the construction industry, because we are really on the low, and with some retail parks, I think things will go better. Thank you that you joined us. From Nevena, Klaus, Alex, and myself, you said we had a lot of information we shouldn't public, but I'm balkanski Spion, yeah? That's why it's my function to know a lot of things, yeah? Maybe I should not talk so much, but you will see how Balkan Spion finished, you know, and from the film, it's not so funny. Thanks you for your attendance, and see you tomorrow. I think also tomorrow will be a very nice day.